should be at the part of our mind and our heart and our soul, that it can grip me any time and I need to be prepared at all. And I've said this to the men and I will say it to the women as well, and the females, that remember one thing, there will be nothing unusual the day when you will die. Always remember that, there's nothing unusual. Every day will be the same day. It's not like Malakul Maut. The angel of death will come and knock on your door and you will say, you know what, my sister, I am coming at 8 o'clock to come fetch you. Be ready, prep yourself, doll yourself up, because I'm coming to fetch you. Malakul Maut does not give you time. Malakul Maut does not give you that single minute and second. As you will prepare your day generally and normally, that's even the final day of your life, you will do the same things which you do regularly. If you have a habit of listening to music in the early hours of the morning, if you have the habit of watching movies, sitcoms and TV series, you name it, on that last day the same thing will happen, nothing unusual. If you have the habit of reciting Quran, you will recite the Quran in the morning. If you have the habit of reciting Quran in the evening, you will recite the Quran, Malakul Maut will grip you then. But fortunate are those who pass away in the state of sujood, in the state of salah, in the state of wudu. They pass away in that particular state. Fortunate are those ones. May Allah bless us that if we pass away in such a state with wudu and in salah, it's absolutely amazing. Really, that's a dua we need to make, that we pass away in a state where our Creator, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is absolutely happy with us. So it's an opportunity today. First and foremost, it's a 3-segment program. First and foremost, we're going to speak about very briefly, at the time of death, what happens, what are the symptoms, what are the signs, and what should me and you would recite, and what to do after the deceased has passed on. That's the first. The second segment will be in relation to how to bathe the body. I'll do a brief demonstration of how it should be done, bathing the body. And the last and final part is in relation to shrouding the body, how we're going to be putting on the kafan, especially for a female, which is utmost vital and important. So we are in the, as we say, in the ICU where the deceased is about to depart. They gave us the final, this man will not survive. If we turn off the ventilation machine, if we turn off the machine that supports the life support machine, then he will have a little bit amount of time. It may be hours, it may be minutes, it may be seconds, we don't know. But the amount of time he will last is up to his entire body, because the moment his organs fail, he will then depart automatically. Anyway, nevertheless, when we are sitting there, first and foremost, that we've got to ensure ourselves that what me and you, when we are surrounding the deceased, what are we supposed to do? Number one, to see the signs of death is to ensure that his feet are not up, to ensure these are the main signs of death. His nose is bent. You'll find the nose slightly bent. His cheeks will sink in. The skin on his balls will expand and the skin of his face falls down. This is in addition to the stoppage of his heart and the pulse. You'll find that the person is slowly drifting away. When we are surrounded in that room, in the hospital or at home, at that moment in time, me and you would recite the talbiyah, La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. But do not enforce it upon the deceased to recite it. Do not even advise it. Do not even tell that me and you have to, that you are telling the individual, please recite the talbiyah just like we are. Because when you're doing that, you are enforcing it upon him, do not enforce it at all. When the entire room is reciting the talbiyah, this man or the deceased itself will start thinking about the worldly affairs. He will start thinking about the estate, the property, the money that he has. Okay, give this person this amount of money, make sure this particular estate goes to this daughter of mine, this particular business that I have, make sure it goes to this son of mine, the other property that I have, give it to the other son. So he's concerned about the worldly affairs, least realizing that he is on the way out of this world. On that moment in time, we do not give him an ear. We do not listen to what he is saying, but rather continue reciting the talbiyah. Then automatically the urge will come inside him. If his faith is absolutely solid and strong, he will recite the talbiyah, La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. When he recites it, the people around him will keep completely quiet, so that we hear the recital of the talbiyah from the deceased. Once he has recited the talbiyah and he has said the kalima, and then he will depart, his soul will depart, as he will see the angel coming to get his soul, and his eyes will remain open, his mouth will remain open. At that moment in time, we become hysterical, we become absolutely shocked. We don't know, especially those who are extremely beloved to the deceased, they are actually in a shock. But the others who are around the deceased should be also cognizant of the fact that the person has passed away, the body is still warm. Before the body can become cold, what do me and you have to do at that moment in time? Number one, we need to ensure if the eyes are open, we close the eyelids. Number two, if the mouth is open, ensure that the mouth is closed, and take a piece of cloth and wrap it around the head and the chin and tie it up so that the mouth does not open up again. Number three, if the arms are bent at that moment in time, ensure that the arms are straightened. Number four, if the knees are bent, ensure that the knees are straight. But also be conscious of the fact that when you are straightening the knees, that you put the feet together, not touching one another, but a slight gap, so that we don't spread the legs out far out and wide and they're not too together. Because at the time of ghusl, when you are bathing the body, it is extremely difficult to actually wash the deceased, and especially the private organs of the body. After when we have done this particular aspect of it, so then we get a piece of cloth and we tie it between both the feet. And once we have tied it between very loosely, so it's not going to go too far out and wide and not too in, not touching the thighs, are just slightly touching, that's about it. But there's a slight gap between the feet. Once that is done, then all the paperwork begins there afterwards. You will find the doctor signs off and says that, okay, the person has passed away. If it needs to go to post-mortem, then obviously it will go into post-mortem, and then you'll have the process of post-mortem where there are different stages of different kind of post-mortem. If you do not wish to go through the post-mortem, and you have another option, and that is a scan, a CTC scan or an MRI scan which they have, and that's when it will be able to identify. But if the person at the mortuary decides that, you know what, I'm not happy with the scan results, I need to do a post-mortem. The reason for post-mortem is to identify the cause of death. That's what me and you, that's what post-mortem is about. And there's different stages of post-mortem. You know, we only understand it's gruesome, they take out the organs and they throw it back and they staple them. There's various different stages of post-mortem. And you ask the doctors, they will make you understand the various different stages of post-mortem. After that is done, and then obviously we get in touch with the Islamic burial service that we have within Keighley, within the Bradford area. We get hold of them and they will come and they will then put the body into a casket and then on a stretcher into the van, and it will proceed towards the masjid or the ghusl facility where we have to now bathe the body. Something noteworthy which I would like to make mention, especially which I made mention for the brothers and I will make mention for the sisters. As soon as a sister has passed on, the community need to be active. We hear the janazah of someone, it's a female, she's passed away. If we are free and we have time on our hands, then we should take the initiative to join, irrespective whether we have knowledge of how to bathe the body or not. Because remember, by seeing we learn quite a lot. Unfortunately, our women folk today, they rather take a step back and allow others to do it. But if that's what's going to happen in the next 20 odd years, when these very same women who are giving ghusl, bathing the body for many years, they have to pass on, then who's going to take up the responsibility? So it's an opportunity that we take this opportunity, we come out of our homes, we come out of our comfort. Remember, we are bathing this Muslim sister. Allah will reward us immensely. Because remember one thing, me and you, we don't know when good action of ours Allah will accept. We are performing salah, we're keeping a fast, we're making dhikr, we're doing everything. We're pleasing our husbands, we're doing everything. But one thing we don't know, this action of ours, of bathing this sister, is accepted in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that can be the means of our entrance into Jannah. So it's an opportunity for us to do it. Make sure that we go ahead, we take that step, and we come out of our homes, of our dwellings, and we go out and we bathe. Even though we have no knowledge, please, mothers and sisters, take this opportunity to go ahead and do it. As soon as the body comes, and we have now got the body within our range, and we have brought it within to the ghusl facility. Once it comes, obviously the men folk at that time will take the full responsibility to ensure, because the body is in a casket. So the man will hold the casket and will take it to the ghusl facility area, and they will leave the casket there. They will not open the casket. The simple reason is due to, number one, the mahram story. The secondly is obviously she is a strange woman to many, and not to the bloodline. They're absolutely fine. But at the same time, allow the women to do the job and the responsibility. So the women will then take out the body from the casket onto the bathing table. Now the bathing table will be such that it will have a drainage pipe for the water to come out, and at the same time, the better way of actually bathing the body is to have a little shower, a portable kind of shower, which is absolutely fine, which many masajids do have. Or they have a harness as well to allow, if the women folk cannot pick up the body because once the body there is no soul in the body, it's literally dead weight. So you have a harness, you tie it, and the harness picks it up, and then puts it onto the bathing table. That's absolutely fine. It's an opportunity for us to invest as well, and I'm sure inshallah our community will invest in this particular aspect as well. So after we've put the body onto the table, the body is now wrapped in obviously the hospital clothing or the clothing which the woman has. Now to ensure privacy, to ensure dignity of the woman, that we don't expose, although there'll be only women there'll be no men. A man cannot be there, whether it's a husband, whether it's the son, whether it's anyone. No males are allowed when the ghusl is taking place, even if it's blood relative. It is absolutely haram to stand there to see a woman being bathed, whether that woman is your mom, whether that woman is your wife, you have no right to stand there and watch. So all the men will be away, it will be only women there. Now in order to have the dignity and to sanctify the privacy of the person, we then grab a piece of cloth, just a general piece of cloth, and then we cover the body. And we have certain individuals out there who will hold the piece of cloth right down so that nobody can see. Then you have the blood relatives, and that this is the recommendation which I have, that if the mom has passed away, I would recommend the daughters taking part in the ghusl itself. We'll find, mashallah, that within that group, that circle, so we will find the daughters, maybe the sister that's there, we'll find the mum that's there. If the mum has passed away, then the mum's sister or the daughters who are present, they will then give ghusl to the body. If they have no knowledge, there'll be a female scholar, well, a female scholar should be there to help and assist, to make sure that the girls are doing it correctly and they are not doing anything wrong. And then you have an experienced woman there she is there, observation, to ensure the ghusl is going absolutely swiftly. So once this has taken place, you will find that the first thing that we've got to do is to now cut the clothing, ensuring that everything is out. Tags, stickers that are on the body, everything should be out. But then you have those drips where they take out, or they put in, blood. When they take out blood, then you have those drips here which is still hanging. Now scholars have said in relation to that if you try to pull it out and blood gushes out, then unfortunately what will happen, that as we are bathing the body and once we shroud the body, a point in time it will come that you will soil the kafan with blood. And if blood comes onto the kafan, then we will have to change the kafan itself. We will have to change the kafan. So to go through all the process again, it's quite, it's a task on its own. So to be on the safe side, if it's there and if we pull it out and blood doesn't gush out, ensure that there is some kind of plaster put on to the body just so that the blood doesn't gush out. But if you have the fear that the blood is definitely going to gush out, then the best thing is to leave it where it is and just put a plaster so it doesn't move, especially when we are giving ghusl to the body. Once the entire clothing is off, and as they say, completely naked, nothing at all. When I say nothing, absolutely nothing. Then, and you've got the sheet to cover the modesty, the chastity of the deceased that is covered. And then you will find that first and foremost, the first protocol that what me and you have to do is to ensure that whatever that person, the deceased, have ate for the last couple of days, so we need to tilt the body. So if the body is flat on the table, so we've got to tilt it slightly, not the entire body, but just the top half of the body. And when we tilt it to a certain angle, to a certain degree, then you will find the third person, so the body is going to be dead weight. So you need at least 2-3 people making sure they tilt the body. The third person will now press the stomach to ensure that anything that comes out, it's being cleaned. Now in that situation, the rest, only that person will clean the private area and throw it straight away inside the black bin bag. Number one, you can do it with a cotton wool or you can do it with a piece of cloth. Preferable, cotton wool. And then you clean it. Whatever comes out, we shouldn't feel as though this is not good, it's nasty. This is a human being. And another thing that we also need to make sure that if we do find any bruises, we shouldn't feel that, oh, what has happened to my mom? Yes, we've got to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for forgiveness. Any cuts, any bruises. And so we've got to make sure in relation to that. The other thing which I would like to make mention of is many requests do come about. And the request that comes about is once the body has been placed, the request comes, can I clip the nails of the deceased? It is absolutely prohibited. It is haram to clip the nails of any deceased, whether it's male or female, irrespective of that. So we should not request it at all. Leave the person as they are. Let it return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in that particular manner and form and shape. Let's not alter it. And like for the males, I made mention as well that shaving the armpits or shaving below the navel for the males, that requests have come about as well, and that was also not allowed. It is prohibited to do that. Allow the person to return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in that condition. So once we are now releasing whatever is inside the stomach, and we relieve the disease of any whatever was left inside the stomach, then comes now we are going to start bathing the body. That includes the hair as well. So you will have all the daughters or the sisters who are present in various different parts. So you'll find that one daughter is washing the hair, you'll find the other daughter washing the top part of the body, you'll find the other daughter washing the bottom half of the body, and you'll find the third daughter washing the feet and so forth. You soap it, you clean it underneath the arms, ensuring that every portion of the body has been wet, every hair is wet as well. So after that process is done and we are completed with washing of the body, then comes for the second time, we will tilt the body. Now when we are tilting the body for the second time, ensure that again, pressing the body, so anything that's left within the stomach is released and comes out, and we clean it. Again, not looking at what's coming out, but immediately using a cotton wool and throwing it inside the black bin bag. So once we've done that, and that process is done, the lastly that we complete is by making wudu. So just like how me and you make wudu in this world, likewise we help the deceased make wudu now. So washing of the hands, washing of the face, washing of the arms, making masa, washing of the feet. The whole process is just practical, just like wudu. But when it comes to gargling and putting water into the nostrils, it's very easy. You wet the cotton wool and you just damp it on the lips, and the nose, you just put it in the nose. Ensure that before you begin with the ghusl, the ears here is actually covered with cotton wool as well. So once the entire wudu is done, now this deceased person has been washed in a most dignified way before the deceased can be lowered in his or her grave. Once that is done, and now comes to the point, now we're going to bring the body close towards where the coffin is. Now when the coffin is right there, and once we brought it with the body, it's dead weight, so we need good amount of women to ensure that we are going to lift the body from the ghusl table, from the bathing table, and put onto the coffin. Now in preparation with regards to the coffin that we have here is explanation in relation to how we are going to do it, inshallah. So we have various different pieces of cloth. So we have, as this is our mannequin and the body, so we will, generally the coffin will be prepared already, and we put the body straight onto the coffin. We put it straight onto the coffin. But at this moment in time, I would like to explain the coffin to yourselves. We have the first piece of cloth, which is this, which is called lifafa. This piece of cloth is the biggest cloth to cover the entire head to toe of the deceased. So we have this piece of cloth, which is called lifafa. The second piece of cloth, which the males did not have, and it's called Sina bun. The Sina bun is from here, from underneath the armpits, right till just below the feet. So we have the Sina bun. So this is the second piece of cloth. The next one that we have is called Izar. Izar is generally from the waist right up until at the bottom for a female. So this is a female's Izar. The next that we have is called the qamis. Qamis is from the shoulder till just below your knee. As we already cut it yesterday, so we have the head part which is open and it's folded as well. So qamis is, you have a little hole to make sure the head goes in, and then it's folded in this particular manner, which I will show you. And it will come right on top. And then you fold one of them, just one piece. The other piece is still at the bottom. So you fold it. So you have the hole right here. And then we have the last final piece for a female, which is orni. Just like it's very similar to a kind of dupatta and orni, which tied up, as women are they're very good at. So we have the orni, which is here. So once the deceased have been brought forward, and we take the deceased, and then we lay down the deceased here. Once we've done that, and we still have the piece of cloth that is over, but we change the piece of cloth because the one that we use for ghusl, it has become dirty. We used another one. We dampen the body, wipe the body as well as we would do after we come out of the shower. We actually dry ourselves with a towel. We practically do exactly the same thing for the deceased. Once all that is done and we have brought the deceased here, we are now got a brand new cloth covered. Again, it's not exposure of the modesty, the chastity of the deceased, that is absolutely covered. And then we lay it down. Once we have laid it down, the first thing that will come on top is your qamis. So now, as you can see, the mannequin is now covered. So as you can see, this has been covered. Once that is done, and we've covered it, before we go ahead, we get what they call camphor, loban. We make a paste of that. We can take away the sheet that was there, we make a paste of that, and we put it on those places on the female that when they go into sajda, they touch the ground. So we've got the palms, we've got the forehead, we've got the knees, and we've got the feet. All those places that touch the ground, the simple reason for that is that on the day of Qiyamah, those places that touch the ground in sujood, they will light up. And then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam will be able to identify, this is my ummati. So it's a great honor for the Muslims, especially the followers of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that this is an opportunity. We're optimistic, inshallah, that that's how our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam will identify us and grab our hand and enter into Jannah. Because me and you, we don't know whether our a'mal will take us into Jannah or not. The simple reason is, we don't know whether it's accepted 100% or not. But we are optimistic that the Prophet ﷺ will hold our hand and enter us into Jannah. That's the main thing. So inshallah, after that is done, the second part for the women folk is to ensure the hair. Now I don't have long hair. For those people who have long hair, especially the women, you have to put the hair into two different, so plait, one here, one here. Do you have to plait the hair? No. All you have to do is just together. So you split it. So you have a line in the middle, one side, one here, one side, one here, covering the chastity. And then you put on the urni. So basically, you can do it single, you can do it double, as you cut it as well. So you put it together, and then afterwards, you cover the hair. So once the hair is covered, all that here, so it's covered properly, making sure not a single hair is left open. Just as you wear the scarf in this world, Allah has blessed you that you do not show a single hair of yours. Likewise, even at the time of your death, you are covered in that manner. So this will go on top here and right the chest. The chest. The next thing after that is now we're going to start folding it. So which will come, just remember, always just like in Salah, left, right. That's how we're going to do it. So we have the left coming in, making sure it's tucked in. And then we have the right. So once that is done, then we have the qamis has been folded. Then we have what they say is izar. This is your izar. So we have the izar coming in. Now you have a lot of extra piece of cloth here. All you have to do is tuck it in underneath the individual. So once you've done the left side, the right side. Again, the same thing, making sure it's tucked in. Once it's tucked in, and alhamdulillah, that is done. The next one is called Sina Ban. Now the purpose for Sina Ban, just to explain, is men have 3 pieces of cloth, women have 5. This is the dignify and honor we give to women in Islam. That they are absolutely no exposure of the shape and the form of a woman. And it's absolutely amazing that we have that extra piece of cloth, because the shape and the form of the woman is not exposed. You know, when it's been taken home and the family members would like to see. And sometimes when we are burying, now the burial of a woman, I will inshallah discuss it as well, is very secluded as well. So once we've got the Sina Ban in, which is obviously from the underneath the arms right up until the bottom. So we're going to do that. The face is still exposed. And then the left, then the right, and then you find the face is still there, opened. The last one is called lifafa, to wrap the entire body. That includes above the head and below the feet as well. So you have a certain gap. Depends on how much you cut, and that's exactly how it will be. Whoever has cut the material will be able to. So generally, lifafa is at least a good, it's more than 6 feet. Because individually, it doesn't matter if the person is 5'6" or 5'7", but we actually keep the lifafa, the biggest, to about 6 feet, 6.1, 6.2. to that extent. Simple. If you have extra, it's fine, but not short. This is what we need to make sure of, that we are in a dignified way, because we don't want to feel sorry afterwards that we've cut it too short, and then quickly we've got to cut another piece of cloth. So again, coming back, the left will be the first part going in. Again, this is now the entire face as well. The feet is already covered. And then we find it from the right hand side. Now once we've done the right hand side, and we've done it, in order for the kafan to not move about, because what happens generally after the ghusl, we tend to take the body home for the relatives to see, which is no harm in that. I'm not against it, I think I'm for it as well, for those who have not seen the beloved ones. But unfortunately today, we break the laws of Sharia. Unfortunately, it's a sad reality. So my recommendation is we should have a special area within the masjid where we can leave the body and the relatives can come over and see the deceased then. Then only those who are mahram, those who are related, will be able to see the face. Non-mahram, they are not allowed to see the face at all. Unfortunately, when you take the body home, everybody's seeing it. And it's not right. We break the laws of Sharia even when the person is dead. It's a sad reality. It happens and I've seen it on many occasions. And I've recommended that leave the body here. So the masjid will have a ghusl facility area, and then we can leave the body in another room, if we have another room, and allow only the relatives, the blood ties, to see the body only. That's khalas. Nobody else is allowed to see the body. And then just to wrap it up, you tie, so you get those little strings, so we could just cut from there as well. So 3 pieces of strings, one here tying in the middle, one here very loosely tied, so we can open it again to see the face, and then the last one tied here at the bottom. That can be tied to, not too tight, but yes, tied to an extent. Here is also tied to an extent, but here very loosely because you're going to be opening it up. But once that is done, and once you have done the ghusl, so this is now completed. The next thing is now to put it in the coffin, and then it will proceed towards the qabristan, and there in the qabristan we recite the janazah salah. One thing I would like to add in relation to a female is very, very secluded, and I'm sure for those who have seen and went to a female burial, you will find that we use a cloth. The cloth happens in such a way that we will be 3, 4, 5 of us will get together, obviously blood relation. We will actually lift up the cloth in this manner so it covers the grave. So the grave is right here, and we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people holding it. And only those individuals will go down who are related, bloodly related to the deceased. They will go down and they will bury the deceased. The rest of the people who have come for the janazah salah will either take a step back, which they have to, they don't have a choice. And once we've lowered the body, we've put the planks of wood, and we put a little bit of soil, and then we will take away the sheet, put it one side, and then everybody who is present will participate in throwing the sand and the soil, reciting مِنْهَا خَلَقْنَاكُمْ وَفِيهَا نُعِيدُكُمْ وَمِنْهَا نُخْرِجُكُمْ تَارَةً أُخْرَى. That will be recited in that particular manner. So for the female is absolutely seclusion. And how did this come about is absolutely amazing. It was Fatima radiallahu anha who came up to Asma bint Abu Bakr. I think she said that, for back home where she was staying with her husband, she says that, I've seen some of the group of people, how they bury their deceased. They actually have, in those days they would make it with bamboo sticks around, like a round circle. The grave would be right in the middle, and nobody would be allowed to see the person being buried. So Fatima radiallahu anha requested that the day I die, I want to be buried in that same manner, the same way. that I will be absolutely secluded, and hence the reason why we have adopted this particular method, that when we are burying our deceased, especially the females, we'll bury them in absolute seclusion, where nobody will get their hands on touching the female besides the blood relatives only. So inshallah, I hope inshallah you really understood it. If you have any questions, any queries, feel free to ask inshallah, and I'll be gladly to inshallah. I'll pass on the mic to the females inshallah. There'll be a brother coming upstairs. If you have any questions inshallah, feel free to ask any. But you're resting in your grave, and you know with the fact that once my daughter starts reciting or my son recites the Quran, I will equally get the reward for it. So it's an opportunity here to make sure that at least one, the recommendation is one. But if you can make all, alhamdulillah, fabiha.
Assalamu alaikum. I've got a couple of questions. Can you please advise what sort of pressure you're supposed to be using when dealing with the body?
Sorry, can you just repeat that question again, please?
When handling the body,
yes,
what sort of pressure are we allowed to use? You know, without damaging the body or without hurting the body?
Yes, you've got to be very delicate. We don't pull the body onto one side. We've got to be, that's why I'm saying more hands, the better. The men will do the job by taking the body from the mortuary or from the hospital into the van, and then from the van into the place, the ghusl facility area, and they will then put the body in the casket, because they're not allowed to then touch the body, taking the body out from the casket onto the ghusl area, the bathing table. Now once it's, for the job is for the women to do it. That's where we need strong women. Now if we don't have, that's where we have a harness, where what happens is we put the body there, and we have these automatic lifts that lifts the body for the women folk, so they don't have to lift the body, and then very, very gently puts the body onto the ghusl table. So as far as pulling the body, as far as moving the body around too much, you should try and refrain from that. Very simplified way, lifting the body and putting it onto the table, and from on the table putting it onto the coffin, and then retie the coffin, and then from the coffin into the coffin. Once it's inside the coffin, the men will then handle it thereafterwards. The women do not need to handle it thereafter. The responsibility will be upon the men to ensure that they lift the coffin, put it back into the van, and going towards the cemetery.
When washing the hair, with it being long hair, sometimes it can get tangled, and are we able to use a comb, or do we have to put our own fingers through the hair?
Fingers through the hair, no comb allowed. To ensure that we do it very gently as well, and then we try and reach the water to the scalp, to the head, just there, and making sure the water seeps right through to the roots of the hair. And when we are, just as we're washing the hair, like we do normally when we have a shower, the same method, the same way, to ensure that the hair is washed very gently, not pulling the hair as well. I understand there can be some tangles or knots there, but very gently untie them if possible. If not, then just go past it, and then once the water has seeped through it, I'm sure it will loosen the knot, and we'll be able to wash it as well. But it has to be extremely delicate, because we don't want to hurt the deceased, because us, deceased is special. We want to make sure it's in a dignified way. Just as our mom, our sister lived in this world with dignity and honor, let them leave this world with dignity and honor as well.
How many towels will you need to dry the body?
As many as you can, it's fine. It's not necessarily only one. We personally, where we do the ghusl, we personally have 3 to 4 towels.
And lastly, the measurements of all 5 cloths, do we just go by an idea on depending the size of the body, or is there a measurement?
There is a measurement, there's a fixed measurement as well.
And you can do it by just looking at the size of the body to make sure that yes, we have, because the measurement is on if a woman is less than 6 feet tall. But then the question arises, if it's a tall woman, then you need a significantly large coffin as well. Generally, where I studied in South Africa, we have these prepared coffin already for various different. So once we know that, okay, we have a male who is 5'7", then automatically they will go straight to the Jamiat and they will go and purchase the coffin for 5'7". If we have a deceased who is 6 foot, then they will go immediately. They will go and get the coffin which is 6 foot because it's already cut from beforehand. Yes, we can do that as well here in Keithley as well, where we have prepaid. We have it ready. So the moment the person, once we get the height of the person, then automatically we have the coffin ready, roll it out, the males and females, and alhamdulillah, then we don't need the person in the last minute, oh, we've got to cut the coffin, who's going to be doing it, who's going to take that responsibility, because on this, it is very difficult, the family are stressed out, and then we have, if we have a burial committee here in Keithley, they will definitely take up the responsibility to ensure the coffin is of the right size. We don't want it short. It doesn't matter if you have extra, but short is something which we will not be able to have, because simple reason, exposure of anybody. So we need to make sure that the coffin is of the right size or even slightly bigger.
Jazakallah.
Maulana Sahib, if a deceased had died during surgery where you anticipate blood loss, be it in childbirth or general surgery, are we then able to dress the wound in anticipation of leakage once coffin is on? Is that allowed?
Yes, it has to be. It has to be. If the person passes away in surgery, then yes, we have to stitch the person back. But then if you're talking about the blood that comes out there afterwards?
Yes.
If blood comes out from where the surgery had taken place, then what we've got to do is to ensure that we can actually just dampen with a cotton wool. But if blood continuously comes out, then we have a special type of pads which we lay out onto the body, especially the surgical part. Those pads are put on and covered so that it doesn't soil the coffin, because the coffin is important. If it soils the coffin to a large extent, then we have to then remove that coffin and put a new coffin on. Because many scholars are of the opinion that if it soils a large portion of the coffin, then it's better to change it. If it's a small, which can be covered, then it's fine, because otherwise then every little drop of blood that comes onto the coffin, we'll be changing the coffin all the time. So if it's a small which can be covered, then alhamdulillah we should continue with that. And if it's a large portion, then we've got to then remove the coffin and put a new one on. So generally, we did face an incident very similar not too long ago, where the surgical, they actually then did the person passed away in surgery. They stitched the body again, but there was also blood coming out. As we were washing, blood came out. Blood came out whilst wudu as well. So we performed ablution again. And when we did it for the second time, blood was still coming out. Then the last time we decided that it's best that we're going to put those medical pads on to cover so the blood doesn't come out. And we would be able to do wudu. Hence, we had to take that option. It's not the best of options, but that's the only way forward, because we ourselves are not doctors or surgeons at that moment in time where we can know how to stop it. So we just actually covered it with medical pads, and thereafterwards we performed the ablution on the deceased, and then we covered the body with the coffin. That's the process we took. And then we asked some of the muftis and the ulama ikram and the senior scholars, was that the best method to take? They told us that was the only method you could have taken. There is no other method. So alhamdulillah, inshallah, Allah will accept it. And what you have done is alhamdulillah, you thought goodness regarding the the deceased at that moment in time. So alhamdulillah, we buried the deceased in that particular manner.
Would we acquire this from the hospital, or do we purchase them from our own selves? The special dressings?
Right, the special dressing pads, I think we actually purchased those.
I have a few more questions from the sisters.
Right, absolutely.
In relation to a husband and wife's relationship, following death, what can a husband see the wife after the after the kafan and ghusl, or
right,
is that not permissible?
Yes. To my understanding and how I understood it, I think the marriage breaks once it's nullified. Once the deceased has passed on, for example, the wife has passed on, can the husband see the wife of the deceased? The answer is no.
Jazakallah. One more question from another sister. If a person passes away in a state of napak, not cleanliness, what would be the case then for the female during ghusl and wuzu? What state?
Because at that moment in stage, we will have no idea. Unless the person tells us, for example, as for a female, so if a female is going through a menstruation cycle and then she passes away in that particular state, we will do the same. We will do the same thing. We will perform ablution. We will wash the body as normal, and then we will bury the deceased in that particular manner. But the possibility of actually blood coming out, I have personally not. I've spoken to many female scholars. I'm not sure whether they've experienced it, because some of the scholars that we have back in Manchester, they said no, we haven't experienced it. So on that particular question of yours, I don't know what would the female scholars would do at that moment in time, or what the scholars would recommend. I'll have to ask some of the senior scholars, inshallah, to see what happens in that kind of situation.
And also, in relation to the females undertaking the ghusl, they too have to be in a pak state.
Correct, absolutely. Highly recommended that they are in the state of wudu, and they are allowed as well. Not in the state of menstruation. If they are, then they should excuse themselves. Even if it's relatives, they should excuse themselves and take a step back. They may be able to observe, but the ones who are doing it, they have to be absolutely pure and pak.
Jazakallah khair.
Jazakallah khair. So the questions will come in relation to a headstone. Does it have to be marble? Does it have to be a certain ceramic? No. A normal general headstone is sufficient. And I do highly recommend, and I would appeal to the Al-Hidaayah Foundation, those who are in charge, that this particular headstone that people charge 1,000, 2,000 pounds, it is absolutely ridiculous. It's horrendous to charge that amount of money. A simple signage. We have a chap in Manchester who charges just for the signage 150 pounds. In fact, less, 75 pounds. It's in plastic with wood, khalas. We don't need this expensive. It needs to be absolutely simple. Unfortunately, we actually have these tombstones, the headstones. We make it just like the non-Muslims. It needs to be absolutely simplified. The name of the person, when he was born, when he passed away. Khalas. We don't need more than that. Maybe put ayat of the Quran. How much disrespectful is putting the ayats of the Quran where we find that people are going to the cemetery and kicking the headstones on the floor. So ensuring that what's the first thing that we've got to do, and I'm speaking to the males here as well, to ensure that simplify it to the best of our ability. As it is, as the scholars say in Urdu, जीना भी बहुत महंगा है और मरना भी बहुत महंगा है यहाँ पर. To live and die in this country is very expensive. So, as it is a normal grave, I'm not sure the cost in Keighley or in Bradford. I know the cost in Manchester is absolutely ridiculous. The lowest price that we have for a grave in Manchester is £2,200. And if we want to bury in another area, then the price goes up to £3,200. And with all, realistically speaking, nobody, illa mashallah, I'm not saying everybody has, but majority of us don't have that kind of money at our disposal at the spur of the moment. So community should get their hands together and help one another at that moment in time. And the person who has passed away, that his family will then take the responsibility to ensure to repay that person who has given the money for the burial. But let it not be that we delay the burial because the money has not been paid in. Unfortunately, I've come across an incident like that. It's a sad reality. I'm not going to mention the area in the city where it had happened, but it's something unreal. You want to cry. Why? Why is it that we delay the burial because money was not paid? That at a time of pain and agony, we should be helping the Muslims, not using and abusing the Muslims at a time of pain and agony. Today, me and you, we use and abuse the Muslims, one another. Let's help out. Okay, we borrowed someone £1,000 for the burial service. Alhamdulillah. Give it. The person will acknowledge it and say, I will repay you back. Give the person some time and he will repay the money back. But do not abuse the Muslims at the time of pain and agony. So inshallah, Jazakallah khairan sisters for coming in and inshallah listening. Alhamdulillah, I have to thank each one of you for taking your time, especially in the month of Ramadan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant you a lot of barakah, muhabbat between yourselves, between the family, within this community. I would like to thank each one of the members, mashallah, to make it happen. Alhamdulillah, it's an amazing experience I've had yesterday and today, and hoping that inshallah we'll have many more to come, inshallah. A kind recommendation from myself, inshallah, as we will be continuing next weekend. Please feel free to send in what topics, what discussion you would like me to speak about, inshallah, and that will be greatly appreciated, inshallah. Jazakallahu khairan, wa sallallahu jazak. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, subhanallah wa la ilaha